You know, some people make soup when it's cold. I make sauce. So basically, I make sauce all the time, not just because it's cold, although it's supposed to be spring and we've been having a cold spell. So I have a couple of clips of me making different sauces. And actually, I wanted to make these sauces because spring is coming around. I mean, I have to make sauce year round. Again, not because I'm obsessed with like sauce, but because I can't just go to the store and buy the normal things that most people would just have stocked in their refrigerator or pantry. I can't buy ketchup. I can't buy barbecue sauce. I can't buy salad dressing. I can't buy, the stuff. So anyway, because it's spring and I'm in a mood to have more kind of, light things as it's getting warmer, hopefully gonna stay warmer, even though it's not warm right now. I thought I would make my version of guacamole and I was running low. So at the end, I'll also be throwing together a batch of my blueberry barbecue. Now I am still figuring out this whole recording myself doing stuff thing. And so unfortunately most of this is shot vertical. And so I don't know, I'm playing around with some different things. And in the last video I did, I went ahead and just kind of like covered up my face while I was doing the commentary, as opposed to having the picture beside my face. Cause I don't know, in some of those past videos, I feel like it looks weird for me to be looking at myself talking about what I'm doing. I don't know. I might be overthinking it, but I'm gonna, I guess, try that today. So moving forward, you're still going to hear my voice, but I'm just going to be kind of commentating over what I'm doing. I may or may not throw in some music here and there. It just depends on what we have going. Now, I will say that these are two different clips shot on two different days. And I think in one of them, I even do a wardrobe change. But the point of me saying all of this is that I'm going to be speeding up this footage because not that it takes a long time for me to do these things, but if it takes me about half an hour to do each of these, this would be an hour long video and ain't nobody got time for that, right? So um, let's just get into it, I guess. All right. All right, so here I am. I am setting out my ingredients. This is going to be me making my guacamole, at least my version of it. I've got some spices. I think so far we've got some hing, some sumac, some cumin. Who knows what that was? The bag in front of me should be my cilantro. Um, so let's see. I think I'm gonna skip showing you guys me like washing, rinsing, spinning, and I'll let you guys know that I do that. So I stored a bunch of it and then kept what I needed out. And here I am preparing some celery. Now, I don't believe celery is a traditional ingredient in guacamole, but just as a reminder, if you're new here, I have a lot of dietary restrictions, a lot of things that I can't eat that are normally like good, healthy things for you to eat. I can't eat, onion and garlic. And so I find other ways to impart flavor into my food. And I actually consume a lot of celery, which it's good for you. So I'm thinking it's a good thing that I consume a lot of celery. So celery will be going into this guacamole. I have discovered ways of getting different flavor out of it, eating some of it raw, and then also going to be heating some of it up. Though gives it a different flavor profile. And so here is my cilantro that I'm going to be using. I am using leaves and stems because you can do that. The really woody part at the end of the stem where the root is, I did cut that off. I'm not going to eat that, but the rest of this should go into my guac pretty well. And this is just me, like I said, preparing some of the stuff to either go into the mixture raw or cooked. And I'm just going to cut up some more celery here. I feel like this part should have been sped up. I don't know why it's not, but I guess this is just me showing you me trying to be careful cutting some celery. um, let's see if maybe I'll put on some music. so now I'm going to be adding my hing spice. Again, if you're new here, this is just what I use to kind of mimic that allium flavor that I'm not getting from the onion and garlic. It's not an exact, but it's pretty close. It's something that I've gotten used to. My husband has gotten used to. Um, this is a particular spice that I do have to heat up to eat. I don't suggest eating it raw. It doesn't have a wonderful aroma, but it will be heated up. So everything that I'm putting in the bowl is going to be heated up. Now, this is sumac. So I use this in my guacamole for two reasons. One, for the color that it provides, these little kind of flecks of red. Gives me kind of that sensation that I might be eating like a chili in some form or paprika or something like that, but it doesn't taste like that like at all. It has a citrusy flavor to it. So like kind of very mild spice, citrusy flavor. And so that's why I'm adding the sumac for the color and its citrus flavor. This is my oregano that I like to add to my sumac. I used to go out of my way to find the Mexican oregano because it does have a slightly, more aromatic flavor profile for this dish. But times are hard and it's just easy for me to use Italian oregano. It works just fine. So I put that in the microwave, stir it a couple of times until I get it to where I want it to be. And then I am ready to move on to the next thing. And so let's see what is next. Now I am going to start working on my avocados for this guacamole dish. Let's go ahead and cue some music. Okay, so what you see me doing here is this is the mixture that I've been putting in the microwave, stirring it, putting it back in. So again, I just do that until I get it to where I want it to be, where the celery is soft enough, the spices are aromatic enough. And now I'm going to be adding in the raw ingredients. That was the raw celery and the parsley. And now I'm cutting up some more avocados. More music. All right, so here I'm adding about half of the mixture that was heated up in the microwave. I'm not adding the whole thing just because I do try to incorporate like layers of flavor. So I am putting in some cumin now, which didn't get heated up, along with black pepper. I like those to just kind of go in raw. Like to have their base kind of flavor profile. And I'm doing all of this again to try to create like layers of flavor. None of this would be necessary if I could just use like onion or garlic in my cooking. That if I could use, chili peppers and cayenne and that kind of stuff. But because I can't do all that stuff, I have to find, like I said, other ways of incorporating flavor. So I only put in half of the seasoned mixture along with the black pepper and the cumin, and I'm adding more avocado to this. And then I have a little bit of like a citrus flavor with the sumac, but like I said, and that's mostly for like the color, like the what it adds to the guacamole. But now my real citrus flavor is going to come from the lime. I am sensitive to citrus. Depending upon what I'm making, I might also include like the zest for it. But because I already have the sumac in it, I'm not going to use the zest this time around. And anytime that I'm working with like fresh citrus, I do have to make sure I wash my hands immediately. I can consume it in small quantities. I'm going to end up using, I think, a whole lime in this recipe. And then I think I'm also going to add some vinegar later. But again, the amount of acid that I'm adding to this is not something that I'm going to be eating all in one serving. As you'll see at the end, this is going to be spread out. So So it's not going to be too much acid for me. Now, if I was baking this to put on a table and consume it with dinner, what I'm making right now, it would be too much. So I'm adding the rest of that seasoned mixture into what I've already started to like blend up. Again, trying to layer in flavor, getting different like consistency. I do want a little bit of texture in this. I don't want it to be solely like smooth. And oh, here I am adding red wine vinegar. And this is just actually a taste preference. I remember making some of this for a guest that I had at the house, and they were telling me how they didn't really like guacamole. And I said, that's okay. I said, you don't have to like it. I just want you to taste it and just tell me, how you feel like it pairs to like a more traditional, because I couldn't make it traditional anyway. And she was like, well, I don't know exactly what you did, but she's like, I actually don't mind your guacamole. I don't know why I don't like other people's guacamole. And so for her, she actually liked the fact that it had the red wine vinegar in it and that it didn't have like the onion and garlic. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. But everybody else who ate it still liked it anyway. They were like, even without the onion and garlic, it does taste like it kind of has something similar to onion and garlic in it. So all of this stuff has just been like 2 years of me recipe testing to get to where I am. So whew, yeah, that's enough of me rambling. Let's hear some more music. All right, 3 jars. So all of that was going into 3 jars of guacamole. So that's why I said it seemed like a lot of acid that I was putting into it, but I'm spreading it out. And so I'm going to top each of them with a little bit of red wine vinegar. This doesn't affect the flavor so much, but I'm putting it there as a coating to help keep it green while it's being preserved. And that was that. Now I'm moving into my barbecue recipe. And so I'm starting out with some mushrooms. I believe these are shiitake. For most recipes where you're making like a sauce and you're reducing down, portobellos or like the button mushrooms are typically like what you want to go with. And I will use those in a pinch. But for some reason, it goes against what everyone else would normally say. I kind of like the woody, nutty flavor of these shiitakes in this recipe. So that's what I use when it's available, when I have the means, all that kind of stuff. I will use the other mushrooms if I have to, but I was very kind of glad that I could use the shiitakes for this. So right now I'm pulling out other like things that I'm going to need in the process of me making them. I am going to rinse and, clean my vegetables before, and that's what I did really quick off screen. And I came back with my cleaned mushrooms, and I am going to cut them up just to help them cook a little bit better. Now I did something that people again tell you not to do. I did actually clean them in water and I squeezed out the excess liquid, but I did that because I wanted them to absorb liquid. So when I start to cook these mushrooms, I'm going to start by just cooking them in their own juices and a little bit of water because I'm basically like steam sauteing them, if that makes any sense. I will eventually add oil to this, but I wanted these mushrooms to have some excess water to help them cook down without, burning. Okay, and so here I go. I don't actually need all of the mushroom bits that I cut out here, so I'm just going to measure out what I actually need for this recipe, and then any that I don't need, I'm going to put them in a container, stick it back in my fridge, and probably put it on like a salad or a sandwich or something later in the week. But this is all I need for this recipe right now. Okay, so I'm just now starting to cook those mushrooms. They've been sitting in the pan all this time, but I didn't actually start cooking them yet. So you just saw me drizzle in a tablespoon of water, put them on a relatively like low heat, and now I'm starting to cook them as I finish cutting up my celery. So I'm adding a little bit of salt to the mushrooms to pull out more of their moisture. Okay, so now I'm adding a tablespoon of avocado oil to the other pan on the other side of, the where I'm cooking the mushrooms. And this is where I'm gonna start cooking my main ingredient. I haven't started yet. All I'm doing right now is just putting the oil in the pan. So nothing has started cooking over there yet. I'm going to be stirring up my mushrooms from time to time because remember, I want them to do kind of a steam slash saute. I don't want them to burn. I do want to, collect a lot of flavor, but burnt is not the flavor I'm going for. So I will be stirring them from time to time. They are releasing a lot of juices because I put a lot of water in them, and that was the idea. And here's the star of the show, blueberries. So I'm going to give my blueberries a little bit of a bath. Should always be cleaning your produce before you use it. Even if you buy something that says it's pre-rinsed, I just for my own safe well-being will just rinse it again just because that's just how I roll. So while my blueberries are soaking for a bit, of course, I'm going to stir my mushrooms a little bit more, work on some, getting things just how I want them. And then after this is where you're really going to start seeing me building flavor for this barbecue sauce. So this is where I'm going to add a tablespoon of avocado oil to the mushroom mixture. So up at this point, they've only been cooking in water and their own juices. I'm adding oil to them because I'm going to be adding other ingredients to them moving forward. Great about adding the celery at this point is the celery has a little bit of its own juices and liquids to kind of release, and they're going to mix in with the fat from the avocado oil. So it's going to really develop a good flavor. If you don't know this, celery isn't not devoid of flavor, which a lot of people seem to think it is. It actually has kind of a peppery flavor to it, and depending upon how you're cooking, you can get variations of that flavor. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm getting those variations right now. And here is my tried and true kind of allium substitute is my hing. I don't use this in all of my recipes, but anywhere I feel like I would be missing that. I'm going to do that. And so I believe this is a full teaspoon of it. Usually I use half a teaspoon because a little bit goes a long way with this one, but I believe this time I did use a full teaspoon of it and I'm adding it. And my blueberries are ready to go in the other pot. And this is where I'm going to finally turn the heat on because the heat has not been on at this point on that. So remember that I already had a tablespoon of avocado oil in it. And then I just add my cleaned berries to that and putting it on a relatively low heat. Okay, let's see what's happening now. I'm going to stir my mixture. Remember, so far this is mushrooms and celery with salt and a little bit of hing. I don't believe I've added any pepper to it yet. I'm sure I will at some point, but we're just extracting the flavors of the celery and the mushrooms and allowing the hing to incorporate. There is a little bit of oil in that as well. All right, let's see what's next. Oh, yes. So these are my whole mustard seeds. So I believe this is half a teaspoon of whole mustard seeds. I used to put mustard powder into the recipe because everybody online said to do that, but I did not like that. I was like, why am I doing it just because other people tell me to? But I did feel like there was something about that flavor I would be missing if I got rid of it altogether. And then I discovered mustard seeds, and when you kind of toast them, they do have like a really nice flavor that I don't mind. So I started doing mustard seeds instead of mustard powder. And what you just saw was just me kind of stirring up my blueberries a little bit. I haven't added anything else to those just yet, but I will. We're going to start with my cumin, and I believe I'm adding a full tablespoon of the cumin at this point to the vegetable mixture. So that's what got added to that. So cumin, hing, mushrooms, celery, and mustard seeds. Yeah. All right. So I think at this point, my blueberries have started to like burst and stuff like that. And we're getting to the point where I think we can start adding to that pot, I believe. Nope, not yet, I guess. Okay. Okay, so here's where I'm finally adding some black pepper to my vegetable mixture. And I do like a very kind of peppery barbecue sauce. Since I'm making it from blueberries, which are really sweet, I try to offset that sweetness quite a bit. And I just like the flavor of black pepper. So let's see what's going on with my blueberries. Okay, so that was some soy sauce, I believe a tablespoon of soy sauce that I added to the blueberries. And this might be, I can't remember. I think this is liquid smoke that I'm adding to the blueberry mixture. Yeah, that's liquid smoke. So that's a tablespoon of liquid smoke. And so I use two different vinegars. This is to help preserve it and give it that barbecue flavor. So I put red wine vinegar and another vinegar in just a moment. I can't remember which I do. Yes. So the red wine vinegar is going to, believe, go into the vegetable mixture. And then in just a moment, you'll see me add a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar to the blueberry mixture. And all of this stuff is going to come together eventually. But again, this is me doing my crazy flavor layering system that I have to do. And again, a lot of the things that I do is just because I can't, do things in a more traditional way. And so I have to compensate for that. And that's what I'm showing you. But we're just going to stir, 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 and listen to some music. fresh cilantro. So this must have been a couple of days because I had some leftover cilantro from when I made the guac. So probably used it all in like a salad or something. Oh, I do make an herb sauce, which I don't think I showed you guys, and that's what I used it for. Regardless, I had to clean that. And so what I'm adding now, um, and I believe I'm adding this to the blueberry mixture. I try to do all the liquids outside of the vinegar into the blueberry mixture. So this is fish sauce. And so this is a combination of fish sauce and molasses, which you'll see later on is kind of what adds a nice balanced kind of umami flavor that you would get from an ingredient like Worcestershire sauce, but I can't use that. And so I've actually found some vegan alternatives that I could use. I cannot use vegan Worcestershire sauce. I've had people say that to me all the time. The reason why I can't use the Worcestershire sauce is because of the onion and garlic in it. So using a vegan version of that wouldn't be beneficial to me. However, I do have, family members who are trying to be more plant-based. And so I do look for alternatives when I can find them. And so if they needed to, they could try something, like some of these alternatives that I found. But for now, this is what I'm using. I'm not going to talk about the alternatives right now. Let's see, what is this? Oh, this is me putting bay leaves into the blueberries. All right, this is dried parsley. I believe this is actually going to go into the blueberries because I want it to soften. I don't really want it to toast at this point, but it's going to go directly into the blueberry mixture. I cannot remember what ingredient this is because I can't see it that well. Oh, I believe that was coriander. Yes, coriander. So I did put a little bit of coriander into my mixture. And now I'm going to be adding my fresh cilantro. And again, I'll be using leaves and stems. Well, actually, it looks like I'm just using leaves for this recipe. Cut up a little bit more than I needed, but that's just extra flavor. So now I'm ready to add my vegetable mixture to my pot of blueberries, and that will basically simmer. Everything I believe is added to this point where it's ready to simmer. There's, I think, maybe one or two more ingredients that I haven't put in there yet, but it's ready to just simmer for a while. Stir it up. Not sure why. Oh, I changed the camera angle so I could move the pot closer. That's why I was adjusting the eye to go so it could go from one eye to the other. I don't know if you can see this that well, but I have the lid on the pot, but it is slightly kind of askew, like where it's not all the way on. And I do that for two reasons. It's part of how I simmer and reduce at the same time. I want this sauce to be fairly thickened, but I don't want to add a thickening agent to it. So while it simmers, it also thickens because I do have like the lid cracked a little bit. So that is how it was, while it was simmering for like 20 minutes. And I think I'm ready now to start jarring it. I must have been talking earlier, but if you guys saw it, that's great. But if you didn't, I did add a tablespoon of molasses to this. That's the only kind of like additional sweetener that I add to it, and that's to help, like I said, with that mimicking of that like Worcestershire flavor, that and the fish sauce together. But like I said, you can find vegan alternatives if you want to do that. I am basically checking to make sure that this is the consistency that I want while also fishing for that bay leaf that I put in there. So there we go. And now I'm ready to puree it with my lightsaber hand mixer. And I realize that speeding it up makes it look kind of jerky, but it is what it is. I think you guys know what's happening right now, so this isn't I'm not hiding any secrets or anything. That this is what it is. Okay, and so now I am ready to start jarring it. Oh yeah, now I remember. So when I was, preparing all of this before, I was wearing something different. I remember while this was simmering, because like I said, it does have to simmer for like 20 minutes. That's when I, like showered and dressed to change for the day. I've got my little work apron on that I wear when I go to work. So once these are jarred, I'll be ready to head out the door. And that is my barbecue sauce made from blueberries. So that was that, guys. Nothing like riveting there, just me making some sauces, trying to, live my best life. So I'm hoping to actually have something more, you know, in depth, like an actual maybe a meal to share with you guys next time. We'll have to just see what happens. But I unfortunately do make lots of sauces on a kind of weekly basis because, like I said, these are things that most people just pick up at the store that I have to kind of make myself. So I am excited about a tofu recipe that I've tried it a couple of times and it worked really well, but I've not recorded myself actually making it. Maybe I'll do that. I know you're like, we're not into tofu. We don't want to see that, but you might see it anyway. Sorry. Just know that most of my recipes are meant to be adapted to what works for you. So if you are an omnivore, go ahead and add some chicken instead of tofu to your recipe. With that said, guys, what sauces do you look for like in the spring? For me, this is when I really like get into like the guacamole and the barbecue sauce. I mean, I eat barbecue sauce year round, but like it's that time where you have like hot dogs and things like that. And I'm all at the time having like burritos and quesadillas and things like that where I'm like dipping into the guac. So that's why it was important for me to make these two sauces right now. So what are your spring sauces? I would love to know. I did notice that there's a few more followers to the channel. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you to everyone for being here. I know this channel is a little crazy, so hopefully you're able to find the things that are of interest to you, and anything that you're not interested in, just, go ahead and look past it. All right. Until next time, guys, stay safe and be blessed. Hey, if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and also leave me a comment. I would love that. Okay.